And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
This week we're going to talk about two primary elections, one imminent, the other a little bit further out, but both very significant. But before we get to that, we're asking once again our friends and viewers to do three things for us. One, like today's episode. It really helps. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's a little 10-second adventure of yours, an investment of your time to pump up those algorithms and let other folks see this and give us some free advertising on Facebook or YouTube or whatever platform you're getting this on. So like, share, let some of your friends, neighbors, countrymen see what you're able to see every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. That helps us out too. And finally, subscribe. You can hit that subscribe button. You'll get notifications of the best 60 seconds, but you all know it's 10 o'clock Saturday morning anyway. The one thing we've been through all the years is pretty religious about coming to you at the same time each week. And as I said, we're going to talk about two primaries, one first, and then we'll bookend today's episode with the other. The one that I want to talk about first is 2 months away, the Pennsylvania primary. This week was the ballot lottery to determine the positions on the ballot where candidates will lie. They do it the right way. It's done totally random. You go in, you pull a number out of a bag, and that's the number you're going to be on the ballot. Couldn't be more fair than that. I was blessed, or pretty fortunate, in that I got one of the top 3 slots for delegate. Generally speaking, that's a good thing, though not always. I've still got to go out and recruit folks to help me get the word out and allow folks in South Central Pennsylvania in the 10th Congressional District, to be precise, to vote for me for delegate. I'm asking all of you to do that and to tell your friends about that here, because I'd really like to go to Milwaukee this summer. You know, lots of folks go fun places in the summer. I'll go to Milwaukee. And this week, another Biden has a conversation with congressional authorities behind closed doors. Jim Biden, that internationally renowned business magnate, gets a chance to tell his side of the story. And of course, he says, my brother had nothing to do with any of my business enterprises. I'm a guy that dropped out of school, opened a couple of bars, had a couple of failed businesses, and then voila, millions and millions and millions of dollars pouring into me from communist China and elsewhere. This whole saga of the Biden family enterprise just absolutely befuddles anybody that wants to take it seriously. I mean, how can you not see what's so obvious? I mean, it's right there in plain sight. These folks that have no record of accomplishment whatsoever, no level of expertise at all, bringing in tens of millions of dollars, whether it's Hunter or Joe or James rather, or whomever, and they want to have us believe that the big guy, quote unquote, is somebody other than Joe Biden. Think about it. And moving away for just a moment from the Biden family corruption enterprise and just leaving sit the question of who the big guy is and how tens of millions of dollars pour in there from all over the world, and Big Joe didn't know anything about it. Let's talk about what happened in the Empire State this week, where Letitia James finally got her wish and had a judge there absolutely pummel Donald J. Trump with civil fines. And again, this was a civil case, not a criminal case. A case tried under a statute that's never been used before. Think about that. And they come out with these incredible levels of damages where there was nobody damaged. I mean, the folks who should have been saying there was fraud committed against us came into open court and not only said there was no fraud committed against us, but we'd continue to do business with Donald Trump any day of the week. We'd like to do more business with him, not less. And yet, here's Letitia James chirping long before she got into office about how she was going to get Donald Trump, and now, at least for the time being, has gotten him. Now, you need to remember that in New York, the Supreme Court is their entry-level court. It's the court of lowest jurisdiction. In Pennsylvania, my home state, it would be a court of common pleas. So when you hear the New York Supreme Court, you've got to put that in a little bit of context. There are several appellate levels through which this case is going to go. And in my judgment, they're going to knock the living stuffing out of what's been done so far. But it does continue to raise the question about the American judicial system being used in the ways it's being used in these dark blue areas. Whether it's Fannie Wallace in Atlanta or Letitia James in New York, you just see what they have conjured up cooked up and brought about, and the American people react negatively to it, as they should. Americans have a great sense of justice and fairness, and they know that at the core, it simply is neither in the case of Donald Trump. And I said at the top of the show that we would be talking about two primaries today, the Pennsylvania primary coming up in 2 months, and today, the South Carolina primary. And I've said all along that I wondered how Nikki Haley was going to get to this point and beyond. I still do. It doesn't look like she's going to do well at all in her home state. In fact, it looks like she's going to get mamboed there. And how you explain that going forward is beyond me. Now, she's got the money to soldier on, and that's a critical element to a presidential campaign. But where's the end game here for her? It just isn't apparent to me. And I think that a lot of folks are going to be asking, whither goest thou? She's clearly not running for vice president. I think a lot of people thought originally that's what she was doing. But by taking the campaign to the level that she has, she, I think in many respects, ruled herself out of that possibility. So what does she tell the American people now? And what does she say in future primaries if she wants to go there, having lost in her home state and perhaps losing very, very decidedly? And this week in the morning briefing, we shared with all of you one of my favorite quotes from Bill Veeck, who said, "There are only two seasons, winter and baseball." And as spring training gets into full swing, I took a second, because you might have caught on to the fact that I do like sports, to watch about 90 seconds of the NBA All-Star game. That was all I could stomach. I checked it out after halftime when I saw that the East had scored 100 points in a half. And so I had to see what kind of a circus this actually was, and it confirmed every one of my suspicions. There was more defense being played in the pregame shoot-around and warm-up than there was in that actual game. Why anybody would have paid to watch that debacle is beyond me. Over 200 points put on the board by the East in that game. And bluntly, it's not without any reason why. I mean, good grief, there was no defense played whatsoever. The Washington Generals played better defense against the Harlem Globetrotters through all those years. And I was reminded once again of one of my favorites, the General, Robert Montgomery Knight, who once was asked, "Are you going to watch the NBA playoffs?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, why not?" He said, "I like basketball." What's happened to the NBA, in my judgment, is tragic. It has become just another form of cheap entertainment. And as I said, why anybody would pay to watch what we witnessed last weekend is beyond me. But for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.